There is a God who cannot love without you, not because he chose not to, because if he is truly one, solitary, no persons inside him, he had no one to love before he made creation. And there is a God who loved before anything existed, before the universe, before time, before you, because love was already happening inside him, between the Father and the Son and the Spirit, before the first word of Genesis. If those two descriptions are accurate, they are not describing the same being. I want to be upfront about something. I went into this research trying to give a fair answer. I intended to land somewhere comfortable, both traditions, reaching for the same ultimate reality with different maps. But the more I followed the evidence, not the vocabulary, not the lineage, the actual character of each God, the less I could hold that. So here is what this investigation actually found. Starting with the one attribute both traditions insist their God has, but defined in ways that cannot both be true at the same time: love. Both Islam and Christianity say their God is love. The Quran calls him Al-Wadud, the most loving. The New Testament says God is love. Not that he loves, that he is love. That difference matters more than most people realize. If God is love not as a capacity he exercises, but as something intrinsic to what he is, then love must be eternal. Love is relational. It requires someone to love. So here's the question neither side in this debate seems willing to sit with. In the Islamic framework, before God created anything, who did he love? Islam teaches that God is a perfect monad, one being solitary, no internal persons, no internal relationships, which means before creation, there was God and no one else. Which means before creation, love had no object, which means love was not yet happening. And a God who becomes loving when he creates is a God who needed to create. A God who needs anything is not omnipotent. He is dependent on what he made for the expression of something he claims to be. The Christian Trinity solves this directly. Before the universe existed, love was already happening. The Father loved the Son loved the Father, the Spirit moved between them. God did not need to create in order to love. Love is what he already was. These are not two slightly different descriptions of the same interior life. They are mutually exclusive claims about what God requires to be himself. But doctrine is one thing. Character is something else entirely. And character is where this breaks completely open. The Gospel of Luke, chapter 1. The angel Gabriel appears to Mary. First words out of his mouth, "Do not be afraid." He reads the room. She is terrified. His first act is to address that directly. Now look at the Islamic account of Muhammad's first revelation. In the Hadith of Bukhari, Islam's most authoritative collection, Gabriel appears in the cave at Hira. What follows is described as Gabriel seizing Muhammad and compressing him so forcefully that Muhammad could not bear it. 3 times, each time so severe that Muhammad ran home, convinced he was either possessed or dying. I kept asking the same question. If this is the same God, sending the same angel, why are the characters of the encounters so different? One enters with comfort. One enters with compression severe enough to cause terror. You cannot explain that away by saying the messengers simply behaved differently. The messenger reflects the character of the one who sent him. Then there is Genesis chapter 18. God is about to destroy Sodom. Abraham bargains with him, not petitions. God agrees. 45 agrees 40, 30, 20, 10. God keeps agreeing. He keeps finding room for mercy. He is not being worn down. He is being revealed. A God who haggles because he cannot stop looking for reasons to spare people, that is a specific kind of character. And it is not the same character as a God whose mercy is an attribute decreed from a solitary throne without negotiation. Real quick, I want to be honest with you. About 90% of people watching this are not subscribed. If this is landing, subscribing is the one free thing you can do to keep this research going. I put serious time into every one of these. If you are the kind of person who cannot stop asking these questions, this channel was built for you. I promise I will always give you the most honest version of this research I can. Now there is one more piece of this that I have not seen raised anywhere. Islam teaches that Muhammad arrived in the 7th century as the final and corrective prophet, that the message of Christianity had been corrupted, that the true revelation came through Muhammad to set the record straight. Take that seriously for a moment. If Muhammad arrived 600 years after Jesus, there were Christians who lived and died in those 600 years. Devout people, people who gave their lives for the faith, people tortured and executed rather than deny what they believed. If the Islamic account is true, those people died worshiping a corrupted version of God. They were never corrected. They never had the chance to hear the message. And the God who is supposed to be the same God who pursued one lost sheep across the hills allowed 600 years of sincere believers to die without the correction. Set that against the Abraham scene. A God who bargained down to 10 righteous people because he wanted to show mercy, but allowed centuries of sincere Christians to die in theological error he could have addressed at any point. Does that sound like the same character? A God who pursues one lost sheep does not leave entire generations without the shepherd? That is not a theological abstraction. That is a character test. And the character on display is different. Now, the other side of this deserves its full weight, because it is genuinely not nothing. The Catholic Church made this case formally at the Second Vatican Council. Muslims adore the one God, living and subsisting in himself, merciful and all-powerful, the creator of heaven and earth. That is official Catholic teaching. And the word Allah is not a Muslim word. It is an Arabic word. Arab Christians were using it before Muhammad was born. It comes from the same Semitic root as the Hebrew Elohim and the Aramaic Allah, the language Jesus almost certainly spoke when he referred to God. The genuine argument here, both traditions are aiming at the same. Ultimate reality, the one creator, the God of Abraham, and falling short of describing him fully because all human language about God falls short. I take that seriously. I am not dismissing it. But here is the problem. Pointing in the same direction is not the same as worshiping the same being. You can point at the sky, and I can point at the sky, and one of us is pointing at the sun, and one is pointing at the moon. Same direction, not the same object. So here is where the evidence lands. The Islamic God needs creation to love. The Christian God loved before creation existed. Those are mutually exclusive claims. They cannot both be true. The God whose angel enters saying, "Do not be afraid," and the God whose angel seizes a prophet until he thinks he is dying are not describing the same approach to humanity. The God who haggles over 10 righteous people because he cannot stop looking for mercy, and a God whose mercy is decreed from a throne without negotiation, are not the same character. And a God who pursues one lost sheep but leaves 600 years of sincere believers to die in theological error has not described the same shepherd. Islam is reaching for God. I believe that. But the God it arrives at, when you follow the theology and the character all the way through, is not the God who died for his enemies, who let himself be tortured rather than call the angels to rescue him, who sat across a table from the man about to betray him and washed his feet. A God who depends on creation to love cannot die for creation. If love requires someone to love, then the God who is always loving and the God who had to create someone to love are not the same being. No amount of shared vocabulary makes them the same. If this is something someone in your life is sitting with, a Christian trying to understand a Muslim friend, someone who has walked away from both traditions, someone who was told this question, had an easy answer, and did not find it, send it to them. You do not need to say anything, just send it. That is how this channel reaches the people it was built for. If you are not subscribed yet, now is the time. I drop a new investigation every week, and I want you there for it. And if you want the full research behind this, every source, every theological framework, every argument I did not have time for, that is all in the free research document on Buy Me a Coffee and Patreon. Link is in the description. Follow, and it is yours.